Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only navigating with, but thriving with the cosmic tides. My name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub and the host of this show, and I am here with your favorite weather woman, predictive astrologer, Ann Ortelee. And we are so happy to be here with all of you. I want to give one tiny caveat before we dive into everything. Anne is in her new location in Florida, which is very exciting. We've been having a few technical glitches as she's getting set up in her new spot. So just bear with us if there's some funkiness with the internet connection here today. But Anne, you know what? We can't hear the hammer in the background as much as you can.
As I can, yeah.
So I just want you to know that.
There's a jackhammer here.
Yeah.
So it's a jackhammer outside all morning long. So I had a lesson with it, and then I moved my 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock tonight because I figured there was no jackhammer then. So yeah, it's been very exciting, a jackhammer on my first day of work in Florida. So hopefully not forever, just for now, and hopefully you guys can't really hear it, but
Yeah, we're good.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right.
It is what it is. Mercury's in Aries. He's asserting himself.
Yes. Oh my. Okay. I can't wait to talk about that. Before we do, I just wanted to make an announcement. So Anne and I have been alluding to this for the last few weeks, but today is the official day that Astrology in Your Pocket is live and available. And let me just tell you a little bit about the backstory. And there's some really fun backstory that just happened yesterday. But when I first started, so I had my first reading, and then I started to tune into different astrologers' forecasts, and astrology was really becoming this lifeline and anchor in my life. And I became very good friends with Natasha Alter, who is the astrologer who gave me my first reading. So things would be happening, in my life, and I'd be like, what is going on? What's going on astrologically? I really want to know. So I would pick up the phone and call Natasha and say, what is going on? And so I would have this continuous stream of astrological input and guidance in my daily life. And it was so helpful. So I've been trying to figure out how we could recreate that kind of scenario for all of you. And this is our first move in that direction, which is Astrology in Your Pocket with predictive astrologer Ann Ortelee. And here's what it's going to be. And Ann, that's you. So essentially every day you will get an audio message from Ann giving you a summary or a snapshot of the weather for that day. So it'll be Ann's voice in your text as an audio saying, hey, here's what's going on today. Just like if you were to tune into the weather and you want to know if it's going to be rainy, or if you want to know if it's going to be windy or sunny, or what's happening with the weather, you're going to get that every day via audio from Ann. And then throughout the day, you will get a text message that will summarize the important transits of the moment and give you some guidance on how to work with that. So this is now available. It's at astrologyhub.com/pocket. And it's only available for the United States and Canada so far. But if you are international, please put your name on the wait list, and we'll make sure as soon as it's available for international that you are the first to know. And that's a technology limitation, not because we don't love you, because we love you and we really would love to be able to offer this to you. But right now the platform just doesn't do international texting yet. So stay tuned for that. And is there anything that you want to? I'm sorry. One other thing, real quick. Inner Circle members, you have your 20% on this, so you have your 20% discount. Please just wait a sec until you get the email from us that gives you the code to use to get your 20% off. Okay, Anne, go ahead. I just wanted to hear if you can provide some input on how it's been to create this and what you have in mind as you're creating it.
Yeah, well, all week long I've been, doing practice runs with it and stuff like that and kind of thinking about it. And so, it's Astrology in Your Pocket, your daily dose of astrology from Astrology Hub with Ann Ortelee as your host, as your astrologer. And then, the song Desiderata, I don't know if you remember that. It was very popular when I was growing up. And the chorus of it is, you're a child of the universe. no less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should, right? And so I kind of think of astrology as the unfolding of our lives. And so giving you this opportunity to listen to how the universe is unfolding that day is it's meaningful. And go Google Daisy Derata, Desiderata. This is Guy saying it, and it's a poem, and then the chorus sings, no less than the trees and the stars. So I kind of, musical accompaniment with all the Pisces in the sky, but giving you a handle on it. And I remember when I was a baby astrologer, I was taking lessons from an astrologer who worked in a corporate gig. And I would go down and meet her at lunchtime. We would have a lesson in the conference room at AIG, which is an insurance company downtown. And then at the end of the day, we would get ready to schedule the next lesson. And she would go pull up her calendar like this, and she would pull the calendar up and she would look and she'd go, yeah, next Thursday's good. We can do it. Next Thursday's going to be a little crazy. How about Wednesday? And I was always like, you can tell like what the day's going to.
Uh-oh. Wait, Anne, you got muted for a sec.
I think Jamie muted me. Yeah.
No, you're good though. Keep going.
I'm not running the mic. Jamie's running the mic. She's muting me and unmuting me. But anyway, so Chandra would look at this and go, it's going to be a bad day. So we're not going to do it Thursday. But how about Wednesday? And I'd be like, how do you know from looking at these little numbers? So that's the idea, is taking you through the little numbers that happen every day and making you go, oh, okay, we've got this, or, oh, this is going to be a little bit more turbulent, and, we can work with it. And I think it's, it's helpful, you know what's coming, you know how to work with it. And in terms of people, when you follow these energies, there's a message that the heavens gives you, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be doing here. So that's the idea, is to have, if there's stuff going on in the sky, that you're kind of forewarned. Oh, here comes the rain. Oh, it's going to rain, but when is it actually going to hit? And oh, here comes the rain, and you're like, oh, okay, there it is. So it'll be helpful, I think, for people. And and it's, we're trying it, see how it works. If you guys like it, great. Also, give us feedback. What makes it more helpful for you? Because we do this weekly thing, and you have to take an hour out of your time. But this way, you're going to get 3 to 5 minutes in the morning. Like, here's the day, here's the energy. Oh, the Cancers are going to be a little crabby today. They're a little more sensitive. The Cancers in it'll be stuff like that you'll be able to play over, and then you can delete it at the end of the day. Or it was a big day, and I say at 2:00 something big's happening, and you meet Bob, and you go, Bob's big. I'm going to keep track of it. So,
yes.
So the idea is to make it much more flexible and accessible in your life. So.
Exactly. And helpful and useful, and also to help you learn. So for example, yesterday, Mercury went into Aries, and I swear it was like my thoughts got put into an electrical socket. It was just like, whoa, like full steam ahead, boom, boom, boom. And then the text came in. It was like, Mercury went into Aries. It's like, oh, okay, that explains it. So the thing that I love about this, Anna, is it gives people a real-time opportunity to experience the energies and know they're happening, and then correlate that with how they feel and what's happening in your life at that moment. And this, to me, is an incredible way to learn astrology, because it's less Anne saying, okay, this is what's going to happen, and then you having to try and piece it together. And it's in that moment you going, oh, wow, this is how that energy feels for me. And so next time when Mercury goes into Aries, I will kind of know. And when someone asks me what's going on, I'll know how to explain that energy from my own experience. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of questions. People are asking lots of questions in the chat. This is not birth chart specific yet. So we're not there yet. This is definitely general energies. Again, think of it as the overarching weather report, like we do here at the weekly, except for that, you're going to be getting it broken down in real time and via text and with your daily audio. So the daily audio is going to come in, and also the texts are expanded. So for some of you that are already receiving tweets, these are going to be longer and expanded in some cases. Plus, you'll get the morning audio every day. So check it out. It's only $4.99 a month. It is that breaks down to 16 cents a day. I like did the math. I was like, wow, that's so cool. Plus tax. There is sales tax. They're taxing internet sale things now. But so it's 16 cents a day or $4.99 a month, and you can cancel anytime. So if you want to just check it out, try it for a few days, see if you like it, you can do that. And if it's not working for you, you can always cancel. So we'd love for you to give it a try.
Yeah,
all right.
Remember,
So that
we're in experimental mode, so we're still tweaking with how we're going to do it. So we have a new moon next week, which we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, and that new moon is at 22 Aries, which is the same energy that we had last year when COVID stuff started, and then all fall when Mars squared those points. So now the new moon is at those points saying, okay, so we're ready. So we're starting it kind of in the dark of the moon to kind of experiment with it and get the format. So, try it and see how you like it. Give us feedback. This is to be, helpful for you. And that's the goal. Make it yours, make it helpful. And you'll be really surprised how, the stuff hits, and you, to the point Amanda had, you could feel the shift. And I woke up this morning to jackhammers, and I'm like, it was completely peaceful. All I heard was the waves. And then this morning there's jackhammers. So I'm like, all right. But Mercury in Aries does make everything very precise, fast, quick, zoom. And so, but Mars in Gemini says you still have a choice. Try this, try that. And then the other part is we want to make it helpful to you. So feedback is really helpful because we're trying new stuff. And, the goal is to make the audience happy. So
yeah,
that's
awesome.
But that new moon this week coming up on the 11th is very juicy because it's at the same degree, that 22, and it's initiating energy, and it says, okay, let's go. And so Amanda and I, we're kind of negotiating all this and figuring it out over the weekend, and that Mercury went into Aries, and we both were like, okay, we got it, and yeah, it's amazing how you can feel it shift. And also a lot of things are coming to light with Mercury and Pisces. Stuff was getting revealed, and now it's into Aries, and it's like, go. And you're like, wow, I feel like the accelerator just got turned on. So it's a nice, that kind of stuff, you'll really learn the tides of how the things work, and it will help you give phrasing to you. And then, of course, if you know where Aries is in your chart, Mercury went into Aries, so in my case, it's in the communication and the contract energy of my chart. So Amanda and I are starting this new project together. So it's good.
Yeah.
So if you know your chart, you'll know where and remember, the transits stay in there. The moon stays in a sign for 2.5 days, so you're going to be able to track it when it goes in. Then you're going to go, gee, and every time the moon goes into Cancer, my son gets very depressed. And I want to go to bed and cry. And so you go, oh, the moon's coming in. Okay, I'm going to have a couple days where I maybe need a little lighter scheduling. So it'll be helpful, especially once you get into the monthly rhythm of it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, Anne, thank you for partnering with us on this. We're so excited to be offering it to all of you, and for all of your enthusiasm in the chat. It makes it fun to be doing this together. So, all right, Anne, let's start. Let's start. I guess we've already started, but let's go to the intensity scale. And what would you give this week on our scale of 1 to 10?
It's pretty big. It's got a big old hammer of Thor, so you're going to be knocking stuff out that you don't want. It's very, if we just think spring cleaning, it's Vesta in Virgo. When we were in fall, in September timeframe, we had a hammer hit a few times at September when the Virgo planets went through it. So this week, Vesta in Virgo retrograde is forming a hammer of Thor. And as Venus is moving into a square with Pluto. So we have a hammer of Thor, great for throwing away things, great for spring cleaning, great for starting a diet, great for banishing food. I had Easter dinner here last night, and somebody said, no pasta. I said, nope, no pasta. Didn't even go down the pasta aisle.
Wow.
Didn't even walk down the aisle and look. Although there were some pasta in the dairy case, that fresh pasta, and I just went, oh, mushroom raviolis? No. And I walked right by them. So it's a great time for that new initiating energy of spring. The other thing is because Mercury went into Aries, even though the Sun and Venus have been in Aries for a while, they're answering to Mars and Gemini, which gives us two choices. Always do this, do that. And then the Gemini energy is answering to Mercury in Pisces. So to your point, Pisces is a little wishy-washy. And once Mercury went into Aries, you could feel your brain just went zoom, like, okay, da 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 da. Because he then took the Sun and Venus and Mercury, all suddenly started going, okay, I gotta do this, maybe I'll do this, maybe, it's like a list. And that energy, that shift of Mercury, because the other planets moved, they're now reporting to a new boss. Mercury is very assertive when he's in Aries, And I told Amanda a funny story, and she said to tell it here. So last week, Mercury's in Pisces, right? I'm a Pisces moon. It's my first house. I have a Mercury-Mars square. I get nervous. And when I get nervous, I talk really fast. I talked somebody out of robbing me at gunpoint once. And the clerk stenographer said, I'm licensed to take stenography at 350 words a minute, and you're going faster than that. And so when I get really nervous, my Mercury-Mars gets a little crazy. So I came to do the walkthrough of the condo before going to the closing, and came and saw the place, and because I bought it basically online. I mean, I knew it because I'd stayed in a similar unit, and I decided I'm hungry because closing's at 1. I go to get a Subway at the little plaza thing, and I get in, there's a big line. I'm like, I don't have time for the line. Too long. Line's too long. Get in the car, back up, I hit somebody. Now, I don't drive a lot either. I live in New York. We hail taxis, right? So behind the steering wheel, and is not, nobody in my family rides with me. I just want to say that. I backed into this car, and this guy cop pops out, and he's in the Subway shirt. He's like yelling at me, "You hit my car!" I'm like, "You should be in there serving people. What are you taking a break at lunch for?" And I didn't say that, but I went, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you." And then I pull forward, and I'm in a Camry, which drops off on the front, again, not driving much, and I hit the truck in front of me. I mean, like 3 miles an hour. And it's one of the guys that's in the Subway line who is chatting up the clerks. And I'm like, stop talking, I got to get my sandwich. And then I gave up, right? And he comes out and goes, "You hit my truck." I said, "I'm so sorry." And he rubbed his bumper, and he's like, nothing. I said, "Oh, sorry. And I pull out, and I'm like, God damn, Mars and Gemini, 2 car accidents in the parking lot. And of course, I'm Mercury square Mars, because I'm preoccupied. I'm hitting people with my car. Yeah, so that's the energy. You got to do it twice. If you haven't done it twice, we were earlier trying to figure out the connection here because it's new connections, and I'm doing the cell phone. I'm walking around to the cell bars. I got the guy downstairs drilling. The exterminator came about 15 minutes before I hopped on. I'm like, all right, it's just Gemini all the time. A lot of duality, and similar to, raining on a wedding day. I thought, well, hitting 2 people on the way to closing, that's probably like a good sign. It's like a rain on a wedding day. That's the worst that's going to happen. I'm good.
Exactly. Well, and you know what I also love about this story? So it's definitely demonstrating the Mars and Gemini, us needing to do things twice and be gentle with ourselves when these kinds of things happen. But also the training wheels kind of analogy that we've had for the last several weeks, that all of us are in this, you made a big move. And when you make a big move, there's this really big period of readjusting. And in that readjustment, things are kind of funky and like you're not in your groove yet. And you don't really, lots of newness. And you're really like immersed in that lots of newness right now, which again is just really cool modeling for everyone and all of us, because that's happening in everybody's lives on some level. Yes. So it's just being gentle with yourself as you're going through the bumper car situation that you had.
Totally.
and the internet connection and the jackhammer out the door. When you were talking about the jackhammer being outside this morning, I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a hammer of Thor, which
there is.
You're saying there's a hammer of Thor. So that's fascinating.
A big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, big hammer. And last night, I've lived in my apartment 42 years and I don't have a dishwasher. So last night I had Easter dinner, and one of the people that was here loaded up the dishwasher and turned it on. So the thing's running and running and running. And I'm like, God, they're taking a really long time. Like, is it broken? You know? And I'm like, doesn't the dishwasher seem like it's been running for a really long time? And so I stopped it because I was like, I think it must be broken. It must be broken. You know, looked around for a manual. And then, of course, I Google the dishwasher model and they go, it can run for 2 hours. I'm like, really? I can do the dishes in 5 minutes, but I'm a Virgo. I go fast, right? So I'm like, so it's going to run like for 2 hours, you know, but I hadn't had a dishwasher in 42 years. So I'm like, all right, the dishwasher thinks that's right. And I can do the short wash, which is only an hour. But I'm kind of like, really? Like, that's a lot of time. I mean, you know, but yeah, Mars and Gemini. So I think it's broken. Must be, you know, and then I Google it and it's like, nope. The smart wash, it knows the load, it knows the dirt, and it could go up to 2 hours. I'm like, wow, all right. So I interrupted it because I was nervous. You got to know the whole week's like that, people.
The whole week. So what is what would you summarize that? The whole week's like what?
You go, oh my God, is that really true? And then you go, I don't know. And then you take the hammer of Thor and you interrupt it. Because the hammer is Venus in Aries squaring Pluto. So she's not happy when she's in Aries because she's a little impatient, or she thinks there's something wrong, or she feels the need to take action where maybe she doesn't. So it's also just a week where when stuff happens, you want to kind of go, okay, so do I need to do something about this or not? Also, Mercury in Aries is a little bit of a sharp tongue. So the analogy I always use for Mercury in Aries, which, you know, when you learn an aspect, to Amanda's point earlier, she could feel Mercury shifting into Aries. Now, she'll never forget that because she'll go, oh, I know what that feels like. So when you learn an aspect through a friend's chart or through watching an event, you know, that's how we learn. So in my case, Mercury in Aries, I was a baby astrologer, and I had a friend who was a Taurus. I'm a Virgo, with different purposes why we're here. Tauruses are here to acquire things. Virgos are here to serve, both earth signs, but they have different focuses in how they feel that they're accomplishing their path. So she has Mercury in Aries, and she said to me, you know, and you're pretty smart. I'm just surprised you're not more successful. And I went, wow, well, that's an interesting comment. I guess there's a compliment in there. I'm smart, but I'm not more successful. And I'm kind of like, I think I'm successful, you know. But, all right. But then I started thinking, but she's a Taurus. So for her, it's like the money, you know, it's the pile. And for me, it's the work, right? So it's different senses of where you're accomplished or where you've done things or where you've changed. In my case, you know, a lot of times I'll change things by taking action. So it's an interesting, you know, understanding of the energy of it. So the other part is, as we talk about, folks are kind of, oh, Mercury Aries, that did this for me. Other people is with it. And so that's another to learn, especially if you're in the inner circle and you can share, gee, the Mercury in Aries, that did this. This did that for me, you know, because it's going to be more real time. So I think I think you're going to find it's very helpful because you're going to learn, oh, that's what that feels like. And, you know, I train my clients all the time to pay attention to where the moon is because it's so much about the functioning. Yeah. Right. Amanda?
So we have a lot of things in Aries, right? Because now you're saying Mercury's in Aries. How long is Mercury in Aries for?
He's in Aries till the end of the month. He goes into Taurus on the 19th.
All right. So we have Mercury in Aries. We have Venus in Aries. We have the Sun in Aries. What else do we have in Aries? Other things yet?
So they all answer to Mars. They all answer to Mars in Gemini, who does not change until the 23rd. So Mars is always going to be looking at Mercury. So he's been in Pisces for part of the journey. Now he's going to be in Aries for the next couple weeks, and then he's going to go into Taurus. So we're going to feel when he goes into Taurus, he gets steady, reliable, a little more slow moving. Because Mars changes every time Mercury changes. And then Mars changes into Cancer on the 23rd of the month, and then every 2.5 days, when the moon changes, Mars will be behaving in a different way. You know, so it's right now with all those planets in Aries, all answering into Mars, who is working with dreamy, drifty Pisces. Now Mercury is the boss because Mercury shifted into Aries from Pisces. Now Mercury's like, okay, let's do it. boom, 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 boom. You're going to feel the energy fast. You're going to feel the boss coming in, your friend coming in, going, boom, we got to get this done. You know, it's a much more fast, upbeat kind of energy. Plus, last week when Mercury was in Pisces, he was telling tales. We had congressmen showing pictures of naked people they slept with. We had all this stuff coming out. And so now Mercury's in Aries, and he's going to go, so what are you going to do about it? We have the George Floyd trial start, and all of my friends who watched it were like, oh my God, this is so emotional. I don't think I can watch this. I'm like, no. When we get to Sunday, when Mercury goes into Aries, it's going to get out of the realm of emotion, and it's going to get into the air of fact, which is, of course, we're going to have all the medical examiners and the cops and all that. We're going to have the facts, but they painted it with the emotions, because as a prosecutor, you do the what people remember is the first stuff and the last stuff. But all my friends that were watching were like, oh my God, I don't think I can watch it. I said, we have an obligation to watch this. It's emotional, but it's so important for us to process. Now when Mercury's in Aries, we're going to see that trial get much more focused and direct. So it's really interesting when we get to watch these things happen over time. And this week, because Mercury shifted, he took 4 planets with him, and suddenly everything's much more focused, direct, sharp, piercing, friggin' jackhammers instead of waves.
Wow.
Waves, I'm like, oh, the waves are so soothing. And, now it's jackhammers today.
Okay, so jackhammers instead of waves. And the way that we're going to feel that in our lives is there's this forward thrust of energy, right? There's like this impulse to move things forward, to like actually start acting on things.
And fast, act fast. People are going to be very like, I have to do this. I have to do this.
But Anne, is that the impulse? But is that like, are we meant to move with that impulse, or is there some caution we need to take with that forward, or do we have all the information we need to be moving things forward?
We don't have all the information we need. Mars is in Gemini, but you're not making a firm commitment yet because Mars is in Gemini. It goes, it could be this, or it could be that. It's when the Dorothy gets to the road where the yellow brick road splits, and she's like, well, which way do I go? And the Scarecrow goes, well, some people go this way and some people go that way. And then they have a little dialogue. So you're having that dialogue with Mercury until we get to him going into Cancer, which is the 23rd. And at that point, Mercury is going to say to you, so what does your heart want? What does your heart want? What emotionally makes you happy? And that's when we're going to make the emotional decision. But remember, all the planets are moving forward 90 miles an hour right now. Everybody's direct. So the planets are going fast, but you do not have to emotionally commit just yet. But you're going to be getting more clarity about what you want to do. And you're going to find people are much more opinionated about things. And that's Mercury in Aries. Mercury in Aries is opinionated. It says, well, I think, and it can be a little sharp-tongued. So recognize that when you're saying it to your kids. I had a lesson this morning with one of my students, and her son has Mercury in Aquarius, which is a very smart Mercury, and he's a very smart young man. And so he said something to her, and I don't know what he said, but she took off her slipper and she threw it at him, right? And I'm like, well, Hutch is always right. And she's like, I know. But, he said something. She's like, my response is I'm going to throw my slipper at him, because I didn't really like what he said. So there's a sharpness to Mercury, even though it is telling the truth. That's the other part. But there's layers of the truth. So we'll see. We're not going to know, but we're going to gather information. But people are going to feel like they're getting clearer about what they want to do, because suddenly the Sun and Venus all are much more direct too, much more directed. And then and remember, right now everything is still reporting into Saturn in the sky. But when Venus goes into Taurus, which happens in a week or so, Venus goes into Taurus on the 14th. Half the sky now reports to Venus in Taurus. So Venus, it's going to be a real energetic shift. It'll be much more daffodils and tulips rather than rams, So Yeah.
And how long do we have that? Because we've been answering to Saturn in the sky, or all the planets have been answering to Saturn for a long time. I feel like we've been saying that for months.
Yeah, we
so
have.
now you're saying half the sky is going to be answering to Venus and Taurus on the 14th?
Until April 8th, when Venus goes into Gemini.
Wait, May 8th?
May 8th, right, sorry.
So April 14th to May 8th, it's going to feel very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole heaven kind of sighs into Venus. Remember, she's coming from being a morning star, which is very assertive and aggressive, that she was from last June, into being an evening star, which she just changed a couple weeks ago when the conjunction happened, the Venus star point. And now, as Venus goes into Taurus, she turns into she's already the evening star. We'll be able to see her. And she's now the goddess of love rather than the goddess of war. And so people are going to be much more inclined to be like, okay, let's love. And I can't tell you how many of my clients are going, I'm internet dating now. And I'm like, well, Mercury and Aries, great time to go hunt. Venus and Aries, great time to go hunt. And you know, because you're hunting, and once you hunt it, what do you do with it when you get it? You bring it home on Taurus. So we're gonna, you know, so if you've been thinking I need to meet somebody, go hunt. This is the week to do it, right?
Okay, well, Anne.
But you know, it's practical astrology for daily living.
That's very practical. Yes, thank you.
If you're not looking for a honey, go hunt for a job. This is the time to hunt, right? So.
A job you love, right? Because we're talking Venus. Yes. Okay. So would you equate in our weekly horoscope yesterday that Christopher Renstrom sends out, he talked about Venus and Aries being Wonder Woman, essentially. And that's the archetype, that's the energy of Wonder Woman. So is that's basically, we're there for another 14 days. That kind of, I mean, she was a warrior for love.
Yes.
And she was so there's a very Venusian warrior.
Yeah.
All right. So
and when you think about that scene at the end when the poison lady, you know, if you watch the movie, the poison lady, you know, she's standing there with, you know, she said to her brother Aries, come on, brother, let's get it on. And then they had the big battle with all the fight, right? But then she's standing there with the car over poison lady who's whimpering on the ground. And she looks at her and she goes, I'm not going to kill you, you know. I mean, I got rid of I figured it. I mean, no, I'm not going to kill you. Right. And or when they were at the DMZ where they'd been frozen and she charged in with her little wrists, bang, bang, banging the bullets. And they were all like, what are you doing? She says, we're changing it. We're taking action and changing it. We're moving it towards what we want. So this is her hunting phase. Once she gets to Taurus, she goes, I got it. Because then she moves out of her detriment. She doesn't really like to fight. She fights because she has to. When she goes into Taurus, she's a lover, not a fighter. Doesn't mean she's wimpy. She's very, you know, Venus is very strong, you know, especially when she's in a rulership. But when she shifts into Taurus, she's going to take all those Aries planets and adjust them because they're going to be now answering to her. Right? So it's a big shift.
And when is the Hammer of Thor happening? And for people that don't understand the Hammer of Thor, can you explain it?
Yeah. So what the Hammer of Thor is it's two planets in square. So right now Venus is moving into a square with Pluto. And then each of those hammers have an aspect to a third planet that's called a sesquiquadrate, which is a square with stress. So what happens is the planets feel a little stressed, but they feel like they have to take action no matter what. Kind of like seeing a cockroach. And you go, oh my God, there's a cockroach. And you're a little stressed, but you go looking for piece of paper to whack it, right? Because you don't want it in your house. So in mythology, Thor's hammer could knock the tops off the mountains. It was a warrior hammer, but it would come back to the house and hang out and play the castle and play music and make gold coins and be a nice hammer. But then when someone came in that the hammer didn't like, it would kind of growl like your dog does. And you'll, you know, and it goes, and you know, and Thor would say, you know, my hammer doesn't like you. And the person would go, is that bad? And Thor would go, Remember kids and dogs as judges of people kind of thing. And so it's got a quality of being able to knock the top off a mountain, but it doesn't. So when people have a Hammer of Thor in their chart and I do a reading with them, I say, well, you have this Hammer of Thor. You can knock people out of the park with it. And they go, uh-huh. because it's like if I take a swing, and on a milder level, think croquet, when you hit your ball on their ball and you put your foot on your ball and you whack their ball out of the game, it's that kind of energy. So it's got a wackadoodle energy. Now, the interesting part is it's Vesta in Virgo is the handle. So Vesta is our home and our hearth, but Vesta has a wide, in the old days, she used to tend the fires. She has a wider thing. Some people live in their cars now. Some people live in their office. Some people live in their home. Vesta is also our body. So with Venus and Aries squaring Pluto, everybody, a lot of people are going, okay, got to get rid of that COVID-19 that I gained by sitting in the house. Got to take an exercise program up. Or, oh, gee, I got to change my house. I'm changing. I mean, I literally bought a house. So they've left stuff behind. So I'm going to take my little garbage bag and go through and clean out some drawers. I don't need golf balls, but I'll keep the suntan lotion, So it's a clearing and a cleansing and a shifting. I've got a couple people building houses. They're adding a room or they're making a Florida room. And the plans are finalized, the permits are in. Obviously, whoever was having the drilling here, they got the permit to do the lanai on their deck or whatever the drilling was. But yeah, so hammers knock stuff out, but they also have an energy of, yeah, I'm done with that. I am done with that. So you may find as Venus comes into the square with Pluto, next week, Sun comes into the square with Pluto. And then in a couple of weeks, Mercury comes into the square with Pluto. So similar to the way we maybe cleared stuff out of your life last fall in September, October, when Mars was squaring Pluto and the Sun and Venus and all those guys formed the hammer then, this is a very similar energy to September, October, when there was a bunch of hammers in the sky then and people were kind of knocking people out of place. It's an interesting energy. It's not necessarily pleasant. And I know in my case, it was in my 7th house, and I got people mad at me. And I got a couple of phone calls from people going, rah, 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 rah. And I try and not get people mad at me. I mean, it's not my goal in the world. I really don't like it when people yell at me, but on occasion, you're mad at me, you can yell at me. And so it's got that energy. You may have someone kind of erupt, especially if they have stuff at like 6 or 7 Virgo, because that's the apex of the handle. That's where the handle is. So look where 6 Virgo is in your chart, 7 Virgo, because that's where the hammer is. That's where the handle is swinging from. So in my case, it's the 7th house.
And when this is happening, or if it shows up in our life, or if we witness it, what's the lesson, or what are we meant to do with that in our lives?
Well, you and I just had it this morning. You said, I thought we were starting today. I said, oh, I thought we were starting next week. And I went, all right, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good to go today. I'm good to go next week. So, but that of course is Mars and Gemini. We had 2 start dates, right? So I went, all right, you're right. We can do it today. I'm good. She goes, people worked all weekend. I'm like, I'm not, anybody worked on Easter weekend? I'm not blowing them off. I can be ready, right? So yeah. It's that kind of energy. You can accommodate and step into it, or you can sit back and go, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. Your call. In my case, I want to be cooperative, right? So it's understanding, it's a fine-tuning energy where you're talking about what's of value and what the dynamics of power are. So that's what you want to look at. What's of value, because Venus and Aries says what's of value. And Pluto says what are the power dynamics that we're working with here. And then the Virgo is who are the people that are being served? How are people being served with this? Right? You guys have been running it in pilot in your land, so you're ready to go.
Right.
And I'm kind of like da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, let me buck up. That's how you can handle it, positively. Someone says to you, I'm really well, and you go, okay. When the guy, my thought with the guy was, yeah, get your butt in there. Why are you taking a lunch break during lunch? You should be helping us. And then I'm like, you hit the guy's car and shut up and apologize. Right. So
right.
Choice, right? You always have a choice.
It sounds like listening would be very helpful. Really listening to understand what the other person's trying to share with you, and where that might be revealing power dynamics or things within you that you're not aware of that are coming up for a reason for you to become aware. Yeah.
And
Okay.
people are really a little, with Mars and Gemini, they're interested in being offended.
Mm.
So if they're interested in being offended, arguing with them about why they shouldn't be offended
Yeah.
is not a good thing. So in
Right.
both cases, in a couple of cases where I said to people, I think we have an obligation to watch this, and they were like, I am too depressed to watch it. I'm like, well, people live with this every day. I think we need more awareness, but that's my vision. You're too depressed to watch it. Okay, you don't have to watch it. I'm not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also understanding where we make a pitch, but we may get rebuffed, and that's okay because we made the pitch, and they didn't want to do it. And that's okay. It's understanding. It's very fast moving, and also with Mars and Gemini, they may come back and say, you were right. Right.
Mm-hmm. All right, Anne. So what else do we have this week? Anything else we need to pay attention?
Busy week. We have a lot of aspects with the nodes. And of course, when we have the aspects with the nodes, we have opportunities to make choices. It also brings people into our life. So the sun this week is pretty quiet. He's moving along. He's partnering on the 13th in a way that's helpful. We also have that nice full moon. New moon rather. So we're in the balsamic release phase till the new moon next Sunday. Mercury aspects the nodes on the 10th, and he has nice working aspects with the nodes, and he has a nice commitment with Saturn. So we're going to watch for offers or opportunities coming into our lives on that when Mercury in Aries talking to the nodes of fate. And it may be, I've got a couple people signing deals this week or getting ready to sign deals, and one of them just emailed me something for her kid, and I'm like, totally, great week to go. Because Mercury's children, pets, you might get a dog this week or an animal. But the aspect to Saturn makes a commitment because Mercury's sextile to Saturn and he's committing something in the same way the Sun and Venus did, a couple weeks ago. And then Venus this week, she's also partnering on the 9th. So she's got a big partner energy coming in. And then she has stressful aspects to the nodes, not bad, but where she's kind of deciding what she's keeping as the hammer of Thor activates. And that's going to be the 11th of April. So she's forming her square to Pluto, where she's like, I don't think so. And so when she has that energy, she's having a hard aspect to the Sag, which is go this way, as opposed to Gemini, you need to pay attention to the knitting, do the details. So that's Venus being reined in a little with the hammer of Thor, being invited to make sure she does her work. Then we have Mars squaring Neptune this week on the 9th. Now we feel that build up. So Mars is everybody being very emotional. And there's a lot of Neptune up there in the sky. Mercury was in him. Neptune's been squaring the nodes. We've all been getting invited to new paths. But Mars coming to square Neptune and arguing with relationships. In Gemini, this is a breakup week. Or if someone broke up with you earlier this year, this is when they can come back and go, I was thinking about it. I may be overreacting. And you can say, okay, come on back, because it's Mars and Gemini. So there's often two opportunities, two offers. And so we want to kind of work with how that works, right? So it's understanding that Mars squared Neptune makes us a little bit delusional, but in a good way. We do want to watch drugs and alcohol with that. So usually when that happens, there's one of those big foggy days and there's like 100-car pileup. So hopefully that won't happen. Then we have Jupiter aspecting the node of fate. There's a lot this week, Amanda. Jupiter aspecting the node of fate on the 7th, and he's in a quintile, so he's super creative with the nodes of fate. And then Saturn on April 9th is aspecting the nodes of fate with a trine. And he's saying, okay, we're going forward and we're working productively with this. Let's get this done. So that's positive. And so like when I see weeks like this, I will often note them in my brain. And I'll say to people, like 5 years from now, I'll go, so that last week in March, first week in April, 2021, big changes in your life. What happened then? So in my case, I'll say I bought a condo in Florida. I mean, I signed a mortgage. I hit two people in the parking lot. I had a little anxiety, but I bought a condo. So this is like one of those weeks. Like one time I was teaching an astrology class and 3 people met their beloveds who they all are still partners with. A couple of them are married and a couple of them just bought apartments. 4 people total, all met on this Friday night in August. And it was like a hot Friday and they all met their beloveds that day. So this week and last week, very big for people making commitments for long-term relationships, and you and I are formalizing our, we're starting a new chapter in our relationship, right? So it's a commitment energy with Saturn coming to trine the nodes and sextile the nodes and in an important way. And then we also have Pluto because of the hammer of Thor. Pluto's also aspecting the nodes in a stressful way, the same way that Venus is, and then the hammer of Thor. So Pluto is power dynamics, triangles, how we work with stuff, what do we do? So triangle energy, right? And how it works and understanding that as a component. And so I had said to one of your people, I said, well, yeah, we're starting next week. And then I got a call from you like 5 minutes later, that was triangle. And I went, oh, okay, we're starting this week. Good, I'm good to go. I thought we were signing the contract this week and next week we were starting this week, we got it. Triangles. So watch for positive triangles that come in and go. I mean, she didn't say to me, she said to the boss, she's saying, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm confused. I get it. I've been way stressed. I'm not functioning normal Virgo brain. Plus Mercury's been in Pisces for God's sakes. But with Pluto, watch for the triangles coming in to correct the deal, to correct the story, to figure it out properly. And then not to be last but not least, we also have Athena squaring the nodes. And of course, she is in Pisces, so she's a hard square to the nodes. And she's in Pisces, so she's working on what your dream is. And she's saying, make some choices about your dream. So think about that. We have Mercury, we have Venus, we have Mars, we have Saturn, we have Pluto, we have Athena, all aspecting the nodes. It's a big week of choices, new opportunities, new things starting. And of course, next on Sunday, we have the new moon, or Saturday, we have the new moon at 22. So it says all the decisions we make this week, we're going forward, but also this nodes are a lot of ending energy, changing, shifting, committing, adjusting your process. So we're going to watch those nodes say, make a choice, make a choice, make a choice. And people are going to really feel that energy this week. So it's a very powerful week. This is one of the reasons we picked last week, this week, next week. This is, 20 years from now, astrologers will go, so that last week of March, first week in April, 2021, what was going on for you? Made a lot of choices then? And people go, yeah, I did. Yeah, makes sense?
Yes, it does. Oh my goodness.
It's a lot. Some
huge
weeks are bigger than others.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a big one. You didn't give us a number though. Like, would you say it's off the charts then?
Yeah, it's big. This one we're going to give a big number, but it also is, you may be forming it, you might be quitting the job or leaving, but you're not knowing where you're going yet. So it's, depends on how emotionally clear you are. If you're emotionally clear and you're in for it and you're on it and you're good to go, 5. If you're not emotionally clear and you're anxious and something's being done to you or you're whatever, you're sobbing in the corner, 200.
Okay.
And it really is the sobbing in the corner, people. What you want to do is go back and look at August, September, October, November, and what was up for you then, because this is when the sun and the moon get there and they have you see it in a new way. They have you come to understand it in a new way. And they say, remember last fall? And you go, yeah. And they go, okay, well, this is what it was about.
Wow.
And then, because remember, the sun illuminates, where maybe last fall you were mad or they were mad or there was fighting or there was stuff. Now you actually see it and get it. And then you get to decide what you want to do. Because remember, once we see it, once Dorothy little Toto pulled back the curtain, Dorothy went, oh, it's a little guy running this thing. Got it. It's that kind of energy. And it is, Aries is a little bit sharp. It goes, it's the little guy, huh? And she says to him, I don't think you got anything in your bag for me, after he gives the degree and the heart and the courage. He goes, I actually have a balloon. I can get us out of here. So if you find yourself being a little like Dorothy at the end of The Wizard of Oz, that's part of the deal.
Yeah. I put Kathleen's comment up here. I need to keep a journal.
Yes.
Because Kathleen, I've been thinking the same exact thing. I used to be very good about journaling, and I do. I mean, you see my like billions of notes here in my journal, but this noting what's going on, I can give you a little trick that I've started. This is like my little, trying to do a lot of things at one time trick. I've started taking screenshots of headlines or even like things to remind me of what was going on at a certain time, so that when you say things like, go look at last fall, I could just go back and look at my pictures, my camera reel, and see, oh, that was going on. Things that will remind me of what was happening, so that I can start to draw those same kind of connections that you're talking about. And a journal, yes, awesome. That's always a good thing to do too.
Yeah, my mom actually she did it in a calendar like this. She would write in the calendar the events of the day when she went to bed, just like a little one-line entry. And when we were cleaning out the house, because of course I'm now down here cleaning out a house, I ran into like 40 years of calendars, of my mother's calendars, right? Like what they did each day, who they had dinner with, whatever.
Yes.
It was like it was a annual, it was one of the wall calendars. Just wrote a little one entry, and then she could reference back. I think, one of the things you learn as an astrologer, or I do when I do readings, is I'll say, well, what happened then? And sometimes they're like, oh, it's too much information. I'm like, well, it'll come in, don't worry, because you're repeating the story now. You're doing it on another level, so you're learning it in another way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, and this is,
and the moons all have good closing aspects this week.
Perfect. So, and someone asked earlier, will you be teaching the closing aspects of the moon at some point? And I know that that's on our list to be talking about. Yeah. And so you'll be able to look and figure that out yourself.
Yeah. Jamie, who's behind the cameras here, who's our goddess of the internet, she came up with a list of things that I talk about, which was like, I want to know about this, I want to know about that, and on that was closing aspects and how to figure it out. Yeah. And so we are that is one of the topics for the lectures we're going to start, which now that we've talked about this little podcast, we're going to also start like one-off lectures where you can do, okay, I want to learn about the nodes. Okay, I want to learn about closing aspects. I want to learn about timing features, because really, especially if you're thinking of doing it professionally, or even if you're just really interested, like planning a day to do something and looking at the last aspect, not so much if you're following up on something, but if you're initiating, you want to initiate it with a happy ending. You don't want a bad ending, unless you want to break up with someone, then you do it on a bad ending, right? But you want it really done. I don't want to ever talk to them again. I'm like, all right, well, you sure about that? Pick this day. Mm-hmm. But if it's a happy ending, it's good. So this week, the moon is conjunct Capricorn, which is moon conjunct Pluto. So new beginnings, new commitments. And Amanda and I committed to this project yesterday. And then
can you tell them the story of how we committed?
Sure.
I think they'll love it. All right. So this is what happened. Anne chose the most auspicious moment, and it happened to be for me, it was at 12:37 p.m. yesterday. So for her, 6:37 p.m. We decided we wanted to do a hand fasting ceremony, and that we wanted to do like the Druids, which they would commit to a year, or a Celtic tradition, they would commit to a year and a day. So when they would get married, they would commit to a year and a day, and every year they would reevaluate their commitment, say, do we want to stay married, or are we ready to move on? Is this working for you? So we decided to get hand fasted. And part of that tradition is to jump over a broom. So at 12:35, 2 minutes before the moment, we were on the phone with each other, and we both said our vows of how we wanted this to serve you, all of you, how we wanted the intention behind it, what we were committing to.
Mhm.
And then at 12:37 or 6:37 her time, I jumped over a broom. She jumped over some sparklers because she didn't actually have a broom. Because
I don't have a broom. I don't have a broom in the new house, but I had sparklers. Right, we were on the terrace, lighting sparklers to sell it. We had dinner and we were celebrating. My cousin had to leave because she had to babysit dogs, and she does elder care, so she had to check in on somebody. So we were doing the sparklers before dark, and I had the sparklers on the deck. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go over the sparklers. I'm jumping over something. So yeah.
Yes. So it was. I
really
said to Anne, this is the most epic, memorable contract signing moment I have ever had in my life. It's like this set a whole new bar, a whole new precedence. It's like it was so fun, you guys. So I have a picture of the broom. I'll share it someday. But it was just one of those moments. Like, wow, this is
I'll send
really
you my sparkle picture too.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, you were doing closing aspects. You said moon and Capricorn.
The idea was Amanda and I were committing, with a good closing with the good aspects for commitment, and like how long do we want to do it? And I said, why don't we do it a year and a day? Because that's kind of what we did with the podcast. Was we started and we said we'd do it for a year, and we got to the end of the year and we said, oh, let's keep going. We're doing like the Renaissance part. So now we're doing the daily aspects. So we're committing to a new phase. So we have multiple levels of commitment, but for somebody like me with Saturn and Scorpio as commitment issues, I can do a year and a day. I'm good with that, right?
Exactly.
So and it's kind of a commitment of the heart, right? So so the aspects this week: Capricorn, Moon, Pluto. Amanda and I hand-fisted on a Moon Pluto conjunction, and then Moon's went into Aquarius this morning, and it closes at 6:05 conjunct to Jupiter on Wednesday, and then it's void most of Wednesday, goes into Pisces, and it closes at 7:48 on Friday with a sextile to Pluto, and then it goes into Aries on the 10th and 11th, and it goes void at 8:06 with a conjunction to Venus. Next, Venus, Moon in Aries meets Venus in Aries. So nice closing aspects for beginning new projects or, getting stuff out into the world. So it's a great week for it. Yeah.
Very exciting. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick summary because we actually did summarize in between. Yeah. But essentially, if you are feeling emotionally clear, this is going to be a relatively easy week. We have a 5 for you. If you're not feeling emotionally clear, if there's still a lot of things for you to work on and process emotionally, this may be a very intense week for you. And a tip that Anne gave is to go back and look at last fall, really see what was up for you then and what lessons are being asked to kind of wrap up and for you to see and really get the gold from whatever those lessons were and are for you.
And that'll be over the next 3 weeks. It's not just this week. This week it's Venus. Next week it's the Sun. And then the week after that it's Mercury. So all 3 of them are going to step forward and go, so now do you understand what was going on last fall? And you go, I get it.
I get it.
So we have illumination. We have illumination. Yeah.
Illumination. Okay. This is a fast energy. We have tons of Aries energy. So it's fast. It's upbeat. It can be piercing. So we've been going from a very floaty, wavy, sort of oceany feeling into jackhammers outside your door and thoughts in an electrical socket, which is what it was. It was like, bow, 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 bow. So just having that, knowing that that's really where we're at right now. It's not to fight it. It's to utilize that energy that is available to us right now. We don't have to emotionally commit just yet. So as we're evaluating all this forward motion, see if there's ways that you can try it and take action towards it, but not necessarily. I mean, you may be committing because this is also a big week for commitment. If you're going to do it, it's big. But you don't have to emotionally commit at this time. You're going to be doing.
Also remember, you're trying it out. So I'm living in a house with other people's filing systems. So I'm like, well, where do I want to file the paper towels? And they've been in the same place in my house upstate for 42 years. So now I'm like, well, do I want them? Where do I want them? I mean, it's like trying it, and you may not like it. You may change it. So don't feel you're committing. You're flexing. You're a little this, little of that. Yeah. Didn't mean to interrupt him. Yeah.
You're going to be fine tuning some dynamics, some power dynamics. You're also going to be walking with this question around what's of value to you. What do you really truly value? There's, and how are people being served with this? So if you're looking at creating things, how are people going to be served by that? You are making choices to bring people in to your life right now. So just
or kick them out
or out, in or out. Okay. And I basically my last page of notes is all about these aspects to the nodes, and that we have Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Pluto, and Athena all aspecting the nodes, which is just like, take a lot of screenshots on your phone this week if you're doing the screenshot method, because this is a big week to note. So the things that will help you remember what was going on, maybe take a picture of a text that will help anchor where you were at.
And anybody you meet this week that's new, get their business card. Like, just say, I need your card, because one of the nice parts about astrology, when the people come in on the nodes, they're big, they're important. You may not know it, but they are. And so the nice part about knowing nodes are active, you know that people that are arriving this week are big in your life, as if people are leaving. So it's a really big time for just paying attention to who arrives, because you're going to say, oh, they're important.
It'd be fun to just make a list of those people. I mean, that's easy. We all can find time to do that, right? So we just make a list in our journal, like all these people came in this week. Interesting. I'm going to track that. Anne, thank you. So all of you, it's been so fun to be here with you and to share the weekly weather, to also share this new opportunity to get astrology in your pocket with Anne. If you're interested, you'll have your first audio tomorrow morning. You'll start getting your first text messages today. So you'll have a little bit of instant gratification on that. And then tomorrow you'll have your first audio. And we wanted to time it where you get it in the morning. So it's something where you could like sit with your coffee and hang out with Anne for a little bit. Of course, everybody's in different time zones and things, but you will have it in the morning, and that can be maybe a part of your ritual. And this will be another way to bring astrology into your daily life. And this isn't for us to be ruled by the astrology. It's not to live your life, from some external thing telling you what to do. It's to inform you about the energy so that you can actually make choices in how you meet it, so that you can actually participate and co-create with those energies.
Right.
And it's also a great way to learn astrology. So those two things are happening. astrologyhub.com/podcast. If you're an Inner Circle member, please, you can put your discount code on the page, I believe. If not, then just wait for the email from us with a special link for you. I'm not totally sure how that's happening right this second. And then the second thing or third thing, I can't remember what number I'm on.
Right.
There were some people asking about the workshop series that's coming up with Anne, where she's going to be teaching about different topics. There's going to be at least one workshop per month. We're thinking about making it like Workshop Wednesdays with Anne. We're going to be covering lots of different topics, and the list of topics has been curated by our team, but we're also interested in what you'd like to learn. So if there's different things that Anne brings up every week, you're like, gosh, I really want to know how to do that, then you can submit those, and we're actually like prioritizing the list of workshops in this series. And so we'll set it up so you can look at the topics and go, oh, I'd like to take that one or that one, if you want to do it kind of like a la carte. Or if you're like, I'm in for the whole series, you'll have an opportunity to do that and get a little discount if you decide to do all of them. So
and it'll be also like the other stuff, Astrology Hubs, where there'll be a live Q&A after the lecture. So you'll get the lecture, and then you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Everybody have a great week with all this very dynamic energy. We'll look forward to connecting with you again, same time, same place next week. And in the meantime, thank you for being a part of our community. And thank you, as always, for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you very soon, and have fun in your new place.
Thank you. I'm going to go out in the sun now.
Oh, so good. So good for you.
Time for the pool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Before I go to work in a couple hours. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.